Hey there, Chadi Bazzi here, and welcome to another episode of the Top Listing Agent Show. Today we have a special guest that is directly and indirectly in the real estate industry. Well, I'd say directly in the real estate industry from a different perspective, someone that is working hand by hand, side by side with real estate agents for, over a decade right now. And the beauty about this interview today is that there's somebody that's looking at the real estate agent from the outside and watching them to discover what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong and what they could be doing differently to level up their business and take it to the next level. In essence, it's just like a football coach or a spectator on the sideline watching people play the game. They're able to identify all the mistakes that the player is making and what they should be doing differently. So the coaching and the guidance that you're going to receive today is going to be incredible. And with that said, I welcome Erin Bradley to the Top Listing Agent Show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I love your energy. I love all the value you're bringing to the industry. And I'm just really grateful to have this opportunity to be here with you today.
Awesome. Well, it's an honor to be in your presence, giving us your time today to contribute to this industry that we both love so much. And we have a great audience. And what I want to do today is I want to go inside your mind. I want to tap into your heart. And I want all the gems and all the golden pieces so we can help as many people as we possibly can today. Are you ready?
Heck yeah, let's do this.
All right. So Erin, why don't you give us a little bit of your version of an introduction and who you are and why you're so awesome and why should people listen today?
Okay, well, I mean, it's not a pretty start. The story did not start out sunshine and rainbows, but I got into the mortgage business in 2006, and I thought to myself at the time that this looked like the life for me because I was working part-time in a mortgage company where, my coworkers and boss would show up to the office in jeans and a t-shirt and then throw a suit on to go to the closing and do yoga in the middle of the day. And I was like, freedom and flexibility, this is the life for me. And I'm in it. So I went 100% commission in 2007, and I did so with no safety net, no savings account, no system strategy, and absolutely terrified of sales. I mean, I sucked at sales. I still do to this day, I think. And anyhow, I fell flat on my face. Within a year of being 100% commission, I was about $35,000 in credit card debt. I had maxed all my credit cards. I had to ride my bike to a client meeting 5 miles across town in the heat of summer in Denver, Colorado, because I didn't have enough money for gas. And when I got there early to let the sweat dry off and try to be composed by the time the client got there, he unfortunately got there early as well and introduced himself to me as my credit card was being declined for a $2 cup of coffee. And this is honestly the card I thought had $2 on it. So I didn't know what to do but lie and just say, that's so weird. It's my debit card and it's the only card I have. So we'll have to call the bank or whatever. And he bought my coffee. And I just remember feeling like mortified and financial rock bottom. Like, what am I doing? And what was I thinking, et cetera? And so I called my dad at the time, and he had gone 100% commission and finance as a stockbroker in his 20s. And I asked him for advice, and he basically just asked me, if I think I was going to be good at this someday. And I thought, I think I could. He said, well, then you just do whatever it takes. And so I remember doing that, whatever it takes, opening another credit card, buying internet leads, whatever that means in 2008. And hiring coaches, starting to read books, attend seminars, and doing whatever it takes. And I look back and I think that was great advice, because for the next 3 years, I got some traction. I started closing some deals, but to be honest, it felt like a grind because I was just following all the traditional sales advice, which is just make the calls, tell them you're awesome and you want referrals, get the referrals and get the deals and close and, make the money. And I always struggled with the activity when it had, like, if I was going to pick up the phone and call you and we connect and we have a nice conversation, and at the end of the conversation, I need to remind you, if you need a mortgage or somebody does, I'm your person. It just like put an agenda into something that felt authentic and genuine, and it made it feel inauthentic. And as a result, I felt a lot of resistance around sales activity because it just felt self-serving. And I just struggled. I mean, it was fine. I got to sustainability and survival, and it was fine, but it just wasn't fun. And then it wasn't until, 4 years after going 100% commission, I read The Go-Giver by Bob Berg and John David Mann, and had a total paradigm shift. I thought to myself, I can do this. If I can make my mission every day to give more value than I hope to receive in payment, and that the money and the business will come as a byproduct, I can do this. And so I started developing the strategy around that philosophy within the real estate space. And I saw my business start to take off. And then before long, I started teaching that strategy in real estate offices. And I started to learn that I wasn't alone in this, pursuit of freedom and flexibility, and this dichotomy between being a servant-hearted person who cares about giving a great experience to your clients, but struggles with the traditional sales strategies of just, make the calls, write the notes, see the people, get the deals. And we need to bridge the gap. Like, we need to get out there and get found, but we need to do it in a way that feels real and authentic and value adding. And so before long, my business more than doubled, and I found myself working 24/7 and surviving success, if you will. And I looked around at all my peers, and everybody that was ahead of me in the game was surviving even harder than I was. Like, I was pregnant with my second child, had a toddler at home, had 80 closings with no assistant, no systems in place, never expecting to do that amount of volume. And anybody I knew that was doing more volume than me was working till 1 o'clock in the morning every night after they put their kids to bed. Mm-hmm. And I almost quit. I was like, what am I aspiring to here? This doesn't look or feel like any of the freedom and flexibility I envisioned when I started. Like, both ends of the spectrum were really painful. Being broke and insecure, and then being, overwhelmed, but paying the bills. Neither one of them really matched the vision I had when I started. And the more I got to spending time teaching and working with agents and other real estate professionals, the more I realized that this struggle on both ends of the spectrum is real. And I think it permeates our industry in such a way that it perpetuates the roller coaster of ups and downs. Like, we hit our ceiling of capacity with time and energy and the ability to be present with loved ones. And so we burn out, and then we fall off of doing the fun stuff, and then the business dries up. And then we get stressed out and we get hungry. And so we hustle and we do the work and we hit our head against the ceiling again. And it just becomes this lifetime of being on a stressed out hamster wheel. And so ultimately, I was lucky enough to not quit and find better coaches and start to scale the business, and then start teaching real estate agents about the power of scaling and leveraging. And, not necessarily everybody's destined for having a huge team or anything like that. Just recognizing that your bottleneck is never your ability to generate relationships and add value to their lives. It's always going to be your time and energy and your happiness that gets compressed. So if we can figure out, when you get to that point, how do you now evolve into the next version of yourself that you need to be to find joy and success together, hand in hand, like both and a badass life powered by a business that's organized to support that dream. And that's what gets me out of bed every day and gets me high. I just love it. I love helping people unlock that potential and turn that light on, whether their light is down dim because they're overwhelmed and insecure and freaking out if they're ever going to make it, or if their light is dim because they're just burned out. And I think you know what I'm talking about. It's just, helping people just turn that light on and find the joy again, and let the business come as the byproduct.
I just wrote the words, as you're speaking. I mean, this is everything I've written so far. So like, taking, cues and stuff like that. And the words that I am like highlighting on my card right now is turn on the lights. And I don't mean turn on the lights in your home. I'm talking about, turn on the light that you need to shine in the world, that is going to reveal to the world, who you really are, truly and authentically on the inside. And I think the biggest problem that I see in a lot of people, Erin, and maybe you could, expand a little bit more on that, is that a lot of people just lack the belief. I mean, we're talking about you riding your bike to a meeting. We're talking about you, declining a $2 cup of coffee, not having enough money to pay for that. And, you like totally hitting rock bottom and going from rock bottom to whatever it takes. There's a light that you had to turn on. There is, the mentality of like, yeah, I know I can do this, but do I really believe I can? How long is it going to take? I'm a mom, I'm pregnant, I have more children coming, I have all this stuff. When in reality, I'd say about 99% of the people that encountered exactly what you encountered would have threw in the towel, would have turned off the light, and would have looked for another avenue to just survive life.
Well, I always think about 3D words, and they're not bad words, but I think that people have
no bad words today, Erin. Come on, we got to throw in at least one bad word today. Okay. I want you to be the one to say it because I ain't saying it.
Hey, I'm from Philadelphia originally, so I got that East Coast attitude, and it'll slip in every once in a while when I get fired up. But I think that when I talk with my coaching clients, I talk about how to get that light to turn on, right? And in some cases, it comes from a place of desperation, and I was desperate. I mean, we were getting married 2 weeks later, and I'm embarrassed to admit that I was looking forward to the fact that we had invited so many people to our wedding, because I was like fingers crossed that some of the wedding gifts would be cash and help us pay our mortgage. Like, we were desperate, and the other one is like, you see the hard drivers, and they're coming from a place of determination. So like, I'm determined to win no matter what. And a lot of times when it's determination, then there is some kind of belief in there. There's some kind of like hardwired, courage to go in spite of adversity. And then the third thing, which I think is what we need to help people tap into actively any day, anytime, regardless of where you came from, regardless of what you're going through, is decisiveness. So it's up to us every single day to decide where we want to go from here and what kind of life we want to build for ourselves, regardless of what got us to where we are today, regardless of external circumstances or anything of the sort. And, in the Miracle Morning, I think it was Hal Elrod that it said this quote that I've had in front of me ever since, and I probably read that in 2015. I read it every single day. Where I am is a result of who I've been, but where I go depends entirely on who I choose to be starting today. And there's power in the word who I choose to be starting today. So every day you get up and you ask yourself, how did I do yesterday? How did I do last year? Well, who really gives a crap? Who do you want to be? Who do you choose to be? And I know that's easier said than done, but sometimes when you make a decision about something, I equate it to putting the pin in a GPS. Like, if you told me your address, I could put it in a GPS right now. I could get in my car and I would see a number of paths to get there. There'd probably be like 5 different routes I could take. Rocky roads, smooth roads, the fastest route, the long and winding road, whatever, but I'd find my way there, and it would take me however many days or months or years, right? Well, I think that decisiveness, in spite of where you are or where you've been or what's going on around you, is like putting a pin in a GPS. You don't need to know the route yet. You just need to decide that's where you're headed, and then let the path unfold, because all kinds of unforeseen opportunities, relationships, ideas will start to appear once you've made that decision. And sometimes we have to put the pin in the GPS before we have any idea how we could possibly get there. And in spite of the fear or the lack of belief about how long it might take, or whether it's realistic or probable, or whether it's too much work, it doesn't matter. Just decide.
Okay, so I'm breaking this down, okay? Because you've been through it, and we want to go through how you did it. Like, we want to give advice based on your experience. Yeah, somebody's watching and or listening to this right now. Somebody may be in a desperate situation. Somebody may be in an okay situation. Somebody may be in a thriving situation. It doesn't matter which category you're in. This is the same exact formula. I love the word determination. I love the word, decisiveness. And I think everything does begin with a decision. Now, here's the challenge, okay? And I want to talk about this. Okay, the challenge is, I think a lot of us a very long time ago made a decision to be somewhere completely different than where we are today. Okay, so we have been making decisions. So that would be like decision number one. So decision number one is the starting point. But then again, there's decision number 2, like, should I wake up early tomorrow? Should I sleep in tomorrow? Should I go to the meeting? Should I pick up the phone? Should I invest in this next marketing campaign? It's like, how do we build that decision-making process, that decision-making muscle to make more accurate decisions, if I could say accurate decisions, and it doesn't matter, you're almost never ever going to get it right all the time, okay? It's just that muscle, when you start making one decision on top of another decision on top of another decision, you begin to stack things in your favor. So I make a decision right now as a real estate agent. For example, somebody's listening to the show right now. I'm making a decision. Erin, I'm going to do 1 extra deal every single month, or maybe 2 extra deals every single month. There you go. I've made the decision. What's next?
Okay, so specifically, I mean, we can take this down to the tactical level, strategically, et cetera. But, I had somebody joking with me about affirmations. I always joke that I'm a manifesting ninja. Like, I have screwed up so many times since that story I told you about riding my bike to the client meeting. Just to be clear, like, this is not sunshine and rainbows. This is just like, I'll try that and I'll experiment with this. And if it screws up, then I'll pivot and I'll try something different because, I've moved away from desperation, but I do have determination, and certainly, like, I'm working on the muscle of decisiveness, right? But what I find is that when you put that pin in the GPS and you wake up every day, and whether you wake up earlier or you wake up late, I actually don't care what time people wake up. Everyone should at least start their day with intention. So I don't know how many people are listening here that this morning their phone was their alarm clock, and as soon as their alarm went off, or regardless, maybe they didn't even set an alarm, the first thing you do is you roll over and you grab your phone. And the next thing you do, you look at the alerts and you're looking at text messages. And before you know it, you're checking emails. And before your feet have even hit the floor, you're in the rabbit hole of social media. And so before you even really allowed your brain to turn on and to think about how to make decisions from a clear mind and a clear heart, we've literally allowed our energy and our attention, and in some cases our emotions, to be hijacked by everyone else's agenda. And as real estate professionals, avoiding the interruption and the external attack on our energy, attention, and emotion is probably the hardest thing we could ever do, from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep. So the first thing I encourage people to do is start your day with some routine that doesn't involve anyone else but you. Now, easier said than done when you have young children, pets waking you up that need to go out, whatever, you've got a spouse at home and they wake up at the same time as you. I read The Miracle Morning for Real Estate Agents in 2015, and I had every reason not to start a morning routine. I had a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and my business had more than doubled again that year, and I was working till 10, 11 o'clock at night, and I had toddlers waking me up in the night. I mean, I had every reason not to start my day with intention and to use sleep as the excuse to not get up. But I can tell you that it's called a miracle morning for a reason. It's nothing short of miraculous when you carve out time to sit in silence, meditation, prayer, or just stare at a blank wall with a cup of coffee and allow your brain to wake up naturally. And then journal some things that you're grateful for and activate hope and positivity and pride and gratitude for all the things that you already have, all the blessings you already have. And then put some attention on your goals and where you want to go, and allow new ideas to creep into your clear mind, and read something inspiring that gets you fired up, because it doesn't matter what state of mind or emotion you wake up in. You could wake up exhausted, you could wake up aggravated, frustrated, anxious, filled with doubt, stressed out, preoccupied by the fire you're putting out at work, whatever. You wake up that way. You can't start doing before you focus on who you're going to be. So you have to take the wheel of you first and foremost. Before you ever decide what to do, you need to decide who you want to be, how you want to feel, and how you want to show up in the world today to the people that matter, personally and professionally. So if you don't do that, then you wake up and you roll right into everybody else's agenda, and you bring all that negative energy with you, which is the vibration you operate from. So if you want to change your results, you have to change your energetic state. You have to take the wheel of you and manage you first. And when you do that, you change the vibration that you bring into the doing and the interacting throughout the day. So when you do this process, and however you want to do it, but if you read the Miracle Morning, they give you a step-by-step on how to do it. That's why I recommend it. But the gist of it is that whatever you need to do, that process of pause, gratitude, reflection, focus on my goals, look at the pin in the GPS, read something that's educational or inspiring or action-oriented. By the time I'm done that, I've shifted from however I woke up into this person who is literally awake, clear-headed, focused, energized, with new ideas, and then go interact with the world. So the decision on what to do next cannot come to you if you wake up in a negative state and you go into reactive from the minute you wake up. You're not giving your creative mind the opportunity to tap into what your heart already knows is available. Like your intuition is so all-knowing, but we can't hear what our heart's trying to say because we're so caught up in our head and just racing. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? You're absolutely correct. In hearing this, I've written down again. I'm an avid note taker. So, but here's what you were describing. I guarantee you, 7, 8 out of every 10 people that heard the last couple of minutes of what you shared can relate exactly to the T of how they go to bed, how they wake up, their alarm clock on their phone, they pick up the phone, they look at the alerts, and next thing you know, it's emails and notifications and social media and all that stuff. And then, we talked about, the miracle morning and the importance of having a morning routine and beginning with attention and all that stuff. I'm going to give every single person one exercise to do in a minute. But before I do that, I want to say this. I think what everybody is looking for is what is the next thing that I need to add to my list? What is the next thing that I need to begin to do? In essence, before you begin to add anything, you can make a list of what you need to add, but before you begin to add it, I think it's critically important for you to create a subtraction list. And talking about what are some of the things that are not serving me that I need to stop. Like, for example, I would challenge everyone that's watching this video and or listening to this podcast that just for the next, let's say 3 days, just for the next 3 days after watching this, when you wake up each and every single morning, you're not allowed to touch your phone for the first 60 minutes. Let's just see what happens. Why don't you try that on, for the next 3 days, and then what you'll notice is you've given yourself the gift of an extra 180 minutes to use your brain versus someone else, to use your brain, to control your brain and guide you in the wrong direction based on their agenda, not your agenda. How do you feel about what I just said, Erin, in terms of talking about delete before you add?
Well, I'm obsessed with it because I literally have a talk called The Art of Subtraction. And I have found that the less we do with more focus, enthusiasm, clarity, etc., the more profound the impact. And I was just talking about this with somebody earlier today that they started taking one more day off per week. And I know everybody cringes when they hear the idea of a day off. But I can also tell you that I've had people on my podcast that have talked about how they're willing to pay a little bit of extra money to make sure their clients are taken care of in order to never miss that day off with their family, to never miss that vacation, to never miss, etc. So there is a way to take a day off. There's a way to take a week off or a month off or whatever you need. There's always a way if you're willing to find it. But the gist of it is that he found that the less he did, the more his business grew. And I would wager that if you're rolling over every morning, starting your day in reactive on everybody else's agenda, and you're an autopilot, and you operate that way all day until you crash at night, checking compulsively at red lights, in line for coffee, while you're having a conversation with a loved one, you're just picking it up subconsciously, checking, looking for messages. You've lost the wheel. Like you're a passenger on a speeding train that you're not even driving. And I don't think that that's what most of the listeners were envisioning when they started. Like everybody became self-employed to not have a boss, but yeah, you're your own boss and you work 14-hour days, 7 days a week and never stop looking at your phone. I would wager that the less you do, the less plugged in and connected and reactive, the more creative, the more energized, the more focused, the more easily you attract the right kinds of relationships into your path to nudge you in the direction of that pin in the GPS. And that might be colleagues, it might be referral partners, it might be better clients, it might be somebody who's looking to get into the industry and looks at you as the lighthouse in the storm to be their mentor, that they become somebody that can take things off your plate. Like, I genuinely believe life is happening for us every day if we can release the grip and allow it to.
You know what? I am like loving this conversation because I was thinking right now is that we're really, we've been talking for a good, 20 some minutes right now. And we haven't even touched the topic of lead generation, because that is like the hottest topic. And every single person is like, come on, man, I just want to, like, how do I get my next buyer? How do I get my next seller? And in essence, the conversation that we're having is far more important than any lead generation system in the world, because, lead generation is easy. The hard part is really becoming the kind of person who is attracting those leads. Okay. And that's exactly what we're talking about here. I mean, we've hit, decisiveness, determination. We talked about, habits. Now we talked about the morning routine. We talked about, journaling is something I want to talk a little bit about, because I think journaling is life-changing. It's been life-changing for me. It's been life-changing for a lot of my students. I mean, I have one student since I think September of 2017 hasn't missed one day of journaling, and journaling took him from like having $3 in his bank account to over $100,000 in 12 months. And because he was able to have those breakthroughs, he's never missed a day of journaling. And it's documented inside my top listing agent Facebook group. If you go there and you click on photos, you get to see like 4 years, 7 days a week of this guy posted a picture of his journal every single day. I mean, this guy would be crazy, he'd be wacko, he'd be nuts to do this activity every single day for the last 4 years and post it publicly, with like a couple of thousand people, if it wasn't contributing to his success. How do you feel about journaling?
Oh my gosh, yes. I journal every single day, and I go back to what I journaled a year ago. And on July 21st of 2021, I went back to July 21st or July 31st of 2020, when we decided to get in our camper and go to a campground for a weekend for an outdoor music festival that was a private party outdoors, pandemic, the whole thing. And it felt so good to be in forward motion that we kept going for 5 weeks into the Northwest with our camper. And it felt so good that I journaled and journaled and journaled. What if we sold this trailer and bought an RV and went from Colorado to Maine to Key West? And then we did that. We spent 6 months on the road last year homeschooling the kids while running multiple businesses. And the point is that these ideas, these crazy, far-fetched, ridiculous ideas that come to you when you're brain dumping on the piece of paper become your reality. And I think that's tapping into that heart center and that intuition. But I do want to talk about it from a tactical level, because how does it all relate to lead generation? Well, going back full circle to when I talked about, the sales strategies, like, okay, you got to make 10 calls a day and do 5 handwritten notes and have 2 face-to-face appointments and all this other stuff. Okay, so the fundamentals remain the same. We're in a relationship business. We need to be developing relationships, and having a structure for doing so is good. People need a framework to follow, and I don't think that the framework changes. I think the results transform with the energy you bring to those interactions. And so as it relates to the go giver and the strategy that ultimately worked for me, was that I knew that I had to be engaging with people. But if I was picking up the phone to call you every single month and ask you if you know somebody who needs a mortgage, it just fell flat. It didn't feel value adding in any way. And if I did a mailer to you every single month about home improvement strategies and turn back the clock like everybody else was doing, it felt really lame to me. It didn't feel like me or my personality. And so I kind of came up with this idea that our clients only need our services typically every 3 to 5 years, unless they're an investor. So if we want to be engaged with them and be of value, it means being of value where they are today. So what I started doing was calling my friends and family and the few past clients I had and asking them, or informing them, that part of the business plan is that I'm building a referral directory of trusted local service providers. I want you to think of me when you need anything at all. And if I don't have a person for that thing you need, I'll find that person. And in that, in that regard, who do you know that's awesome at what they do that has a business that belongs in my directory? And then I would meet those business owners and say, I am, a real estate professional. Part of my business plan is such and such. My clients are always coming to me for referrals. I heard you're amazing at yada, yada. I'd love to meet you. And then how can I promote you back to my people? So started doing mailers, introducing my database or my village to my tribe of service providers. And in doing so, I got to know the tribe of service providers, get to know their problems, what keeps them up at night, what are their goals, what are their challenges. And this is where I see a lot of real estate agents falling short, is that there's a frustration, like an underlying frustration about the lack of reciprocity. We give out leads all day long to the inspectors and the lenders and the title reps and the handyman and all the roofers and all these people. We refer business all the time and we never see any business in return. And I always challenge the agents, like, how well do you know that person? Do you even know if they're married and have kids? Do you know where they grew up? Do you know why they became an electrician? Do you know what their goals are? Do you know what their bottlenecks are? Like, have you ever taken the time to be of value above and beyond what you get paid to do? And when you do that, you create a relationship. And what ended up happening was that all of those people that we referred to as vendors became clients. So the tribe became the village. But the point of this is that, you want to transform your results. You know the formula for doing it. You can't figure out why you're not in the mood to make the calls. You can't figure out why your energy is low. Mainly it comes back to messaging. Like, is your messaging, is it value adding? Does it excite you to pick up the phone? Do you have a reason to call that's not about you? Because if we remove real estate from the agenda altogether, just like take the agenda out of it, and you pick up the phone to call people you care about and find out what's going on in their life today, what matters to them, what's stressing them out, what excites them, and then you show up as a resource time and again, connect them with people that can help them, provide value to those people, deepen relationships with those people, you're in flow. So the activities might be the same, but the energy is totally different. So when it comes to like your listeners or your students, it's about finding something that turns your light on. So for me, that I love talking shop, clearly. Like, I love this. And I love talking with other entrepreneurs. Like, whether it's a massage therapist or a hairdresser, everybody who's 100% commission has the same fears, goals, hopes, and dreams. They just have a different craft. But a lot of them struggle with sales too. So how can we help them achieve their goals in their business and in their life and provide value above and beyond what we get paid to do? And in doing so, we create a snowball effect and you become a magnetic force. And that's like attraction marketing, right? So it may not be that you want to use the tribe approach. For me, that just has always worked. It gets me on the phone. I always have gaps in the directory. I'm always looking for somebody good for such and such. And there's no end in sight for how many people I could call to say, who do you want me to meet that should be in my directory? And so it just works. But for some people, it's like golf, or it's wine tasting, or it's dog lovers or beer people. Like, who are you? We don't have to separate who you are as a human, what gets you excited and what you're passionate about, with who you are as a business professional. We just need to marry the two.
Yep.
So the light's on, the activity gets done, but it gets done with like high energy, enthusiasm. It's fun. It's different. It's like,
yeah.
Different.
Yep. This is I love the idea of putting that directory together, because in essence, will increase the amount of contact that you have with the people, because they start reaching out to you. And not only that, they're actually helping you build up your network and, be, connected to other entrepreneurs. And that's going to increase the amount of referrals they receive collectively and the amount of referrals that you're going to receive collectively. So I would challenge anyone that hasn't taken on such a task to not even consider taking on such a task, but should begin that task immediately and start building up that list. And then as somebody maybe you call up Erin, and then Erin introduces you to, the local bakery, and you have that introduction. Take it a step further. Don't just even put them in your directory. Once you go there, you interview them, you create a video, put it up on YouTube, put it up on Facebook, put it up on Instagram, etc. Now you become more valuable to the new person that you just met. And they're going to be telling people, hey, well, did you watch our video on Facebook? Did you watch our video on Instagram, etc.? Which is, in essence, going to give you a lot more exposure too. All right, so you've mentioned The Goal Giver, and you've mentioned The Miracle Morning. Minus those two books, because I didn't ask for a book recommendation on those. I am going to ask for a book recommendation right now, but you can't recommend either of those two books, so we can have 3 total for every single person. What's one book you must, like everybody must read besides those 2 books?
Okay, so this is going to be one that not a lot of people have probably read, which is why I'm going to go with this one, so it's not repetitive. But have you read The Answer by John Assaraf?
Absolutely, I've read The Answer by John Assaraf.
I love that book. I love how action oriented it is, because it brings I love the marriage of business and spirituality. I really genuinely believe that if we can master ourselves, we can master anything external. And what I love about the book, The Answer, is that it brings you through like the science of neuroplasticity and how to actually recondition our brain and our belief systems and rewire, reprogram, and all these other things. And then takes you step by step how that applies to being a successful business owner and a goal achiever. And I just think it's really fun. And I love all books like that bring together business and spirituality. All of Michael Singer's work is amazing. But you said 3, I'm going to stop there.
No, yeah. So look, The Answer, I'm glad I asked that question, because it's a book I haven't heard referenced in many years. And I am a big fan of John Assaraf. And I think this book is definitely a game changer book, because it does, bridge your inner you with your outer experience in business and life and everything else. So that is a must-read book for every single person. I want to circle back to journaling. I want to give it a little bit of advice to our listeners on journaling, because we touched up on it. But what I want to do is I want to walk everybody through a framework that I personally go through every single day, and so do my students. And the framework is, and it takes 5 minutes or less to complete this every single day. I would say get yourself a journal just for this exercise. It doesn't matter what it looks like. And I'd rather you do it with a pen and paper than to do it digitally. And what you want to do, because a lot of people are always like, well, what do I journal about? How do I journal? How do I do this? How do I do that? So we got to work in framework. And the framework is as follows. Number 1, you answer the question, what made me happy in the last 24 hours? The first question that we begin with, because now what you're doing is you're beginning to control your mind. You're guiding your mind to think about something that made you happy. And if you think about something that made you happy, you're going to feel that emotion, that's triggered by the thought. The second thing that you do for number 2, you write down, hey, what are 2 things I'm grateful for? And where I would challenge you is you're not allowed to be grateful for the same thing more than once every single week, because I want you to look outside of the norm of like, well, hey, I'm grateful to have food in my fridge. I'm grateful to have another day to live. Too common. I want you to see beyond that. And number 3, you're going to write down, what are my top 3 goals? And you're going to write down the same exact goals every single day. What are the top 3 goals? You're going to write them down every single day until they become a reality. Why is that? Because Brian Tracy taught us that the moment you commit your goal to writing, you increase your odds of achieving that goal by 1,000%. So now you're increasing your odds of achieving that goal by 1,000% every single day. And you're activating the reticular activating system to remove the filter and allow you to see all the opportunities that are moving towards you to help you move towards your goal much faster. Number 4, you're going to write down 4 affirmations. 4 affirmations. And I don't want you to, sexy affirmation that says, hey, I'm a money magnet and da 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 da. I want them to be relatable to you, personal to you. What is it that you don't believe to be true about you, that if you actually believed it to be true about you, it would cause you to feel more confident, allow you to give you more certainty, and just have a total different experience internally every single day. And those are the 4 affirmations you would write down every single day until they become a belief. And number 5, you're going to write down your income goal 5 times. So for example, if your goal is to earn $50,000 this month, or whatever that number is, you would write down, I attract and generate $50,000 or more this month. And you would write that down 5 times. Now, the beauty about doing this exercise, Erin, is that let's say 30 days from now, you can go back and pick up your journal and you have and you just go back to it, only take a look at the answers to question number 1. Man, you got so much happiness in your life. You got so much beauty in your life that you forget about because you're too clouded by chasing the next shiny object, or, being by your phone, etc. When in essence, your life is a lot more beautiful than you make it out to be. You are much more beautiful of a human being than you allow others to experience. And it's time for you to say, stop it, damn it, I am beautiful, I am courageous, I am worthy, and this is my experience here and forward, and then just live it.
I love that you have a framework for it. And I feel like I kind of started the question with the lofty response there before, but it's like, I do write down, at least 3 things I'm grateful for. And then I write, today's going to be awesome when ... And then at least once a week, I write, today, we're recording this on August 26th. I'll write, it's August 26th, 2022, a year from now, and I'm celebrating ...
I love
And
it.
then I write all the goals that I have as if they've already happened. And it includes like health, travel, family experiences, everything, business, financial. And then with the affirmations, I have a 2-pronged approach to it. One is to read the affirmations that I've written every single day. And another one is to pick one tangible goal, like you're saying, to have this goal and write it 4 times. And I'll write it as a present tense, like, I love earning 500,000 a year, and I'll write it 15 times. So writing it over and over and over again. And what I learned in the process of doing this is that, you talk about how it awakens your reticular activating system. So all of a sudden new ideas are popping into your head. And I remember when I first started doing this, I would be like, shut up, brain. I'm busy over here writing my affirmations. And then I realized that the brain was starting to, the new ideas were arising to show up in my path. Like, I would imagine somebody would pop into my head, like someone I should reach out to, a new idea, like an event I want to host, or somebody I need to thank, or something like that. And then I would start scribbling in the notes. So it might be tangible, like, I love closing 5 units a month. Maybe you've only closed 2 a month. Well, if you start writing, I love closing 5 a month, you're going to start to have new ideas. You're going to bump into people throughout the day that are not a coincidence. And all of a sudden the path begins to unfold. So I'm a huge proponent of I just like the structure that you just laid out. You should publish that in a planner. Do you already have it published?
We do. I'm just waiting for the order to come in.
Nice. I love it. I love that. I love the structure of it. And I think that people can benefit from being guided if you've never done it before. Over time, I think it kind of morphs into a brain dump. Like, if you're feeling stressed, write it down. Like, I'm feeling stressed, I'm overwhelmed. But then start thinking about what you're grateful for, and you start shifting, and then start thinking about what excites you and what you envision, and you start waking up, and it's you controlling you as best you possibly can, in spite of everything coming at us all the time,
I love it. And since we've talked about journaling and writing and stuff like that, and you've given your book recommendations, one book recommendation I'm going to give right now is a book called Write It Down, Make It Happen. Write it down, make it happen. And the author's name is Henrietta something. I remember the Henrietta, but I don't remember the something. So I think it's the only book with that title. Erin, this has been awesome. Thank you very much for your time. I so appreciate you. I know there's a lot of people you've helped turn on their light today. And those are the people that want to be a little bit more connected to you, and they want to follow you, and they want to friend you, and maybe even, exchange some kind of a business relationship with you. How can people reach you, find you, connect with you, etc.?
Sure. So you can reach me through the website, pursuingfreedom.com. And there's a resources page.
Freedom.com. Pursuing
Freedom. Yeah. That's the name of the book and the podcast. But on the website, there's lots of free tools to download that can help you. One of them is Transform Your Business in 90 Days. And it's kind of like the cliff notes in an ebook, a cliff notes of the book and the strategy to help you basically, double, triple, quadruple your referrals in a way that feels easy and authentic. But also reach out to me at Pursuing Freedom Official on Instagram. You can message me. shoot me an email or questions, feedback. I just love collaborating and helping people any way I possibly can. And, we shouldn't go it alone and be islands in our journey. We should be connecting. And it's so fun to meet people like you all over the country, all over the world that are doing cool stuff. So I think it's really awesome what you're doing here, Chadi.
Thank you very much, Erin. And I think it's very awesome that you actually gave us your time today. And we are so appreciative of that. So to our audience, thank you very much for tuning in today, and connect with Erin. Learn from Erin. Apply what she's speaking about, because you deserve that freedom as well too. If a woman can go from riding her bicycle, okay, to an appointment, declining on a $2 coffee purchase, to living the life of her dreams today, I mean, what a story. If somebody is able to create such freedom for themselves, then you better pay attention, listen, and apply what they tell you. Erin, thank you very much for your time today. We look forward to having you on the show again sometime in the near future. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.